In this month's market update, we are going to dive deep into the word that is creating buzz around the country: inflation.
There is some good news. NAR numbers are up, and we'll talk about where they're going.
And most importantly for you, we're going to share where some of the greatest opportunities are in the summer market.
All that and more in this month's market update.
Let's discuss one of the hottest buzzwords that it seems like we have out there right now, and that is the famous word inflation. Or should I say infamous?
Yeah, so CPI report came out, right before we filmed this, and we're at 4.2%. That's the highest number we've seen in a couple of years now, since we were coming out of the pandemic. The thing that's driving it's pretty obvious, right? Gasoline, oil in general. So gas prices themselves are up 40% year over year. Fuel oil, which is used for things like heating and stuff like that's up almost 60%. And food prices too are up 3%. That's not as bad as the other stuff, but that's still a full percentage point higher than the target rate, right, of 2%. Even when you start looking at what is the Fed specifically looking at, right? Their PCE, they call it inflation, personal consumption expenditures, just a slightly different metric than what the CPI uses. The way they basket the goods is a little bit different. But that core number, again, removing energy and food because they're just volatile. They can bounce around a lot. One of the things we're seeing right now was also at 3.3%. So still a full 1.3% above their target. Mm-hmm. And in the end, it basically means that we're kind of sitting in this place mortgage rate wise, where mortgage rates are kind of pinned at around 6.5% right now. And they're going to be moving around kind of that point probably over the next 6 months. So, if you're anticipating rates coming down in the near future, this is one more piece of news that's really pointing to that's probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Remind us again, what is the correlation when inflation goes up of why mortgage rates may not be coming down?
Yeah, so the Fed has decisions to make, right? They set a short-term rate, but at the end that does impact the long-term rate. And also, people's expectations of inflation in the future affect, how they invest their money, which also impacts how mortgage rates move. You watch the 10-year Treasury. It's the best thing to look at when you're looking for what are mortgage rates going to be next week. Look at what the 10-year Treasury rate is today and what direction it's going in, and that's going to give you an idea of where rates are going to be trending. This report, combined with the fact that the jobs number hasn't moved, unemployment was stable this last month. We added 170,000 jobs. That means they're not under any pressure right now to lower rates in order to kind of rescue the job market. And with the rates going up, we actually have moved from a situation where we were having a conversation last year and going into this year of when can the Fed lower rates? How far can they lower them? When can they continue to lower them? Now we're at the Fed's not going to lower rates, not in the near future. And in fact, can we avoid them having to increase rates in the next 12 months with the way inflation's going? So that's been pushing mortgage rates up over the last, couple of months.
And this continues to have a significant impact on folks because they're experiencing as consumers that prices are up. They continue to remain higher at the gas pump. They are higher at the grocery store. In any area that we think of as humans, as folks who are running family households, and paychecks haven't maintained the same level of feeling that things are the same.
Yeah, in fact, over the last couple of months, for the first time in a while, we've actually seen what we call real wages. So when you take the wage number and adjust it for inflation, meaning you're kind of comparing things in terms of what you can buy now versus what you could buy 6 months ago, we've actually seen the real wage go backwards. Mm-hmm. For the first time in quite a while. So people are actually losing ground in terms of what they can afford to buy with their income right now.
So that $100 that somebody may have received on a paycheck just a few months ago no longer feels like $100 when they're going to the grocery store.
Yeah, that 2% raise when inflation's running at 4%, you're going back, do the math there, you're going backwards 2% in a year, right? So that's sort of what we're looking at right now when this number starts ticking up in ways that people weren't anticipating before.
And consumer indexes are showing that now as well.
Yeah, Michigan survey of consumer sentiment set another all-time low. And it was an interesting report because that spanned across the political spectrum and across income spectrum. So everyone's nervous right now. We know that gas prices tend to have an outsized impact on that survey. So probably a chunk of it is that. But I also think it's the job market. We talked about the job market's stable right now, but it's not growing. People aren't feeling very comfortable switching jobs. There aren't as many job openings as there have been in the recent past. So it's steady and it's not contracting, but it's also kind of stagnant in a way. Most of the jobs that were added were specifically added in the leisure and hospitality industry and the healthcare industry, while the rest of the economy is just sort of kind of maintaining where it's been. So in a way, it's like a rock and a hard place situation, right? Inflation's too high for us, or is high enough now that it's like pushing us to potentially raise rates. Jobs are good enough to also facilitate that potentially, but not good enough that people's incomes are really growing.
That's right.
Rates aren't going down, but incomes aren't going up. That's sort of facilitating a lot of the challenges both in our industry and just generally across the country right now.
And while things have felt stagnant, there has been some movement around existing home sales.
Yeah, so, home sales were actually up in May, which is some good news because, they've been like really flat to even down the last few months. EHS was up 3.2% to 4.1 million. Prices were up 1.3% to 429,000. And inventory is actually a little bit up too. We're at 4.5 months, which is, same as last month, but in general, we're at like a higher level of inventory than we've been really since we got into the pandemic. I think month supply is maybe at the highest level we've seen since 2019 right now.
Is this perhaps a bit of a delayed spring market, Ruben?
Maybe, yeah. So I think we got some relief in mortgage rates in April. Unfortunately, they've ticked back up, so we're going to have to see how that evolves going in. But we did see, I think, buyers come more into the market. We saw listings tick up a little bit. Home sales have started to spring back up. There's some interesting stuff going on with who's buying homes. In general, I think these statistics have started to improve. We're just going to have to watch and see like what happens with mortgage rates and how do they impact them. It's hard to sometimes gauge how the demand side of the market is going to react because at some point they've kind of started adjusting just to the idea that mortgage rates are what they are, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm going to buy a house or I'm going to sell a house, I'm going to have to like accept reality and move on from there, right? We know that people make decisions around buying and selling homes that are impacted by finances, but often not driven by them, right?
Yeah.
People are making decisions around life events, weddings, babies, divorces, like all that kind of stuff. Life is going on right now, regardless of what mortgage rates are. It's just a matter of how motivated people are to try to drag things out until they improve. And once people kind of start to accept, this is what it is, at least for the next 6 months, the market's going to adjust.
And I think this is where we're seeing some of the most surprising news as we were reviewing the data on who's purchasing this year.
Yeah, so an interesting stat that started to tick up over the last couple months is that first-time home buyers are now making up more than a third of the existing home purchase market. So at 35%, based on NAR's last Realtor Confidence survey, that's substantial. Like that's the highest we've seen in a while. We're getting closer to what we even consider like normal at that rate. When you start getting toward 35, 40% of the market, that's sort of getting to the historical norm. So it's interesting because it's a little bit surprising to me. I wouldn't have expected it, but I think it's getting back to that point of like, at some point, rates kind of become a reality. We get away from the expectation that they may go back down to 3% sometime in the near future, which they're not going to. As I said, like life starts to go on. I mean, what are you seeing in terms of strategies for agents, like targeting these agents, for sellers right now dealing with this market? Because we've seen some challenges in other places.
Yeah, we've seen that the average first-time home buyer was 38 years and older. And so it's natural to think that someone who has been saving up for a long time would naturally want to, at the end of the day, enter the market. If you're almost 40 years old and you're looking at wealth accumulation, purchasing a primary residence is one of the simplest ways to force yourself into retirement savings that is simply called your primary home. And some of the ways that I would encourage our listeners, that especially those who are in the real estate profession, to think about where to find the buyers is to get really, really clear on not just looking for buyers that you can consult and help purchase homes, but to be really intentional about the marketing plans that would attract first-time home buyers through seminars, through teaching what the current mortgage offerings are that a first-time home buyer in particular can take advantage of, and to be really, really clear on who you're actually looking for to attract and to help. In previous months, we had mentioned that there could be pockets of the country that could help investors, yet what we're seeing, the data is very clear on this, is if we have this many first-time home buyers that are already getting into the market, that's one of the biggest opportunities that a real estate professional can take advantage of.
Yeah, I think one of the suspicions I'm having, contemplating this data even as we're sitting here, is that the stock market has really been on a bit of a tear, but it's also been extremely volatile. So I suspect that over the last couple of years, like quite a few young people, especially higher earning young people, have probably made a decent amount of money in the markets. And they're looking at the volatility that's been injected over the last couple of months. Maybe they've been contemplating buying real estate for a while and looking at moving into something that's, a little bit more stable, adding some diversity right to their investments, because if everything you have is in the stock market. And for young people, I think, who have been working for the last 5 years, it's pretty likely between your 401k and whatever other investing you're doing with your savings you've accumulated, it probably looks like that. I think that's likely. Like, I think people are going to start looking to get back into real estate. That, Gen Z is starting to get to the point where they're going to start buying their first houses. As you said, like older millennials are also in that position where they've been saving for a long time. I think there's some sound reasoning behind why we're starting to see this tick up. We'll have to see what level it reaches and how much it boosts home sales. But certainly at over a third of the market, it now starts making a lot more sense to start directly targeting again that cohort of people, right?
Yeah, and I think we have a couple of opportunities too as real estate professionals to be really clear with those first-time home buyers that are also hearing outside influences, the HGTVs of the world, that their first home is this magnificent thing that you purchase. Let's be really clear, Ruben, when you and I purchased our first home, it was not our forever home. So some of the great opportunities for first-time home buyers or potential candidates that want to be first-time home buyers this year listening to us today might be to be really clear that your primary residence can be one of the core wealth-building vehicles for your personal financial future. And that does not have to equate purchasing the perfect home that is winning the beauty pageant when it hits the MLS. So one thing you might want to think about is talking to a real estate professional to get really clear on where the upside is when you're purchasing that first home, what some of the tax advantages are by getting into the first home. And for those of you listening that are real estate professionals, be asking yourself, how clearly am I communicating that in my marketing plan so that first-time homebuyers want to have these types of conversations? There are wonderful tax advantages associated with purchasing a primary, and there are individuals who will, purchase a primary residence and they're going to purchase them with old wallpaper, landscaping that needs help, right? The property that needs to be spruced up because they're willing to put in that sweat equity to trade it for increasing value on the asset that they're likely not going to keep forever.
And I think being able to communicate around the costs of like what those repairs over time are going to be and the return you're going to see on them, right? Like show people what's the ROI on that sweat equity. We, as real estate professionals, we know what that looks like.
That's right. And then the famous words of Gary Keller, I would encourage anybody who's thinking about building wealth to purchase real estate and wait. Because while we're having inflationary conversations and have had conversations about where home prices have been headed for some time, the great news is once you lock in that mortgage rate, you're also locking in that monthly payment that no one's going to take away from you for those 30 years or 15 years, depending on the type of mortgage you get. It is a forced savings vehicle that is not going to fluctuate.
Let's talk about sellers for a little bit too, though. That's a little bit more challenging right now, right? Like we've seen, to the advantage of this conversation we're having, buyers have more leverage. Which actually, like one of the stats that came out of NAR was actually that waived inspections from buyers is continuing to go down, right? Which is usually just kind of an indicator of like how much negotiating power does a buyer have. When they don't have very much negotiating power, inspections get waived more frequently. When they do have more negotiating power, they're not going to waive the inspections. Buyers have more negotiating power. There's more inventory on the market. And we're competing more with new home construction right now too, right? Like one of the interesting things going on right now is that for the first time really since the early 1980s when interest rates were also very high, the median price of an existing home and the median price of a new home are essentially at parity. They're very close together. Normally there's around a 15% difference between those two things, and they've shrinking within just a couple of percentage points of each other recently. What are sellers doing right now? You talked about a beauty pageant to like kind of sit in this space and like attract those first-time buyers or even the top of the market buyers, in current conditions.
Yeah, that's right. Well, for a long time, the sellers have not needed to spruce up their property because properties were flying off the shelves. And the opposite is true now. For the sellers that are very intentional and highly motivated to make sure that they're receiving top dollar, it has never been more important to follow the marketing advice that they might be receiving from their real estate professionals to make sure that the top rooms or the top areas of a home that in your market, in your area, a buyer will be looking at specifically are in top shape. And for most markets, that tends to be your kitchen. And that tends to be really when you approach the property and what happens at first glance, right? This is why we say you want to win that beauty pageant right at first impression. And that is no different in the housing market. And it really hasn't changed. So if the first impressions of what's most important to the consumers in 2026 is covered, then the house doesn't have to be 100% perfect. Yet we want to think about what some of the greatest objections are that a buyer might have. Now, the real estate professional, when they consult with you on what it's going to take and what a potential marketing and spruce up plan would have to look like, will be very honest because you've hired them to do that job of being a fiduciary in your world for that phase of the transaction and hopefully beyond, of course. And they're going to give you suggestions that might actually not cost you a lot of money to create perceived value so that when a buyer comes through the door, there are going to be the most obvious items that will no longer be a big obstacle.
So what I'm hearing you say, Gabi, is, first impressions are a good place to invest money, and then just general like ROI, activities in terms of improvements on the house. It's like kind of important right now because buyers aren't looking necessarily for entry level thing right now. They want the prettiest house on the market if you want to get top dollar.
That is what many buyers absolutely want. And if you're a motivated seller, then you'll want to make sure that knowing what it is that those buyers are looking for, the sellers are also going to make sure that those are the first pictures that land in the MLS.
So to wrap it up, we learned that, inflation is going to keep interest rates high for the, near future. We're seeing improvements in existing home sales and NAR. We'll see how that goes in the future. And we learned about some pretty good opportunities that are out there, including, first-time home buyers being back in the market.
And for those of you who enjoy listening to the latest stats and trends, please continue to click, like, and subscribe to our channel and ask us questions. If you are on our YouTube channel, we'd love to get your questions and answer them in our next month's Market Update.